Yes, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today with your listeners. To answer your question, let me start going about it this way. Our nervous system thrives on feeling safe, having a sense of safety and security. Every time that gets disrupted in any shape or form, that causes a lot of tension for us. So, with natural disasters, because they happen suddenly and they're usually very unexpected, survivors experience a lot of anxiety, grief, panic, even post traumatic stress disorder. What happens is their sense of safety is dramatically questioned because they don't even feel safe in the comfort of their own home. So, as they go about this process, a lot of new wounds are formed. And obviously, for people who have experienced trauma in the past, a lot of previous injuries or emotional wounds get re triggered. Yes, that's a great question. I would answer it this way: emotional recovery is just as important, if not more, because it can lead to a lot of chronic illnesses going forward. Things like anxiety, depression, insomnia, disconnection, discomfort in social settings or at work. If you think about it, it will even impact economy in the long term because people who struggle with emotional distress after a natural disaster, if they don't heal properly, they can't return back to work and be productive members of society. So, in the long term, there's a lot of suffering that's associated with it. Our nervous system holds on to stress. And once we go through something like this, it either has to learn how to let go of that stress and go back to normal level of functioning, or it will continue to reside in that space. As such, you see people around you that display a lot of mental health symptoms that debilitates them from functioning well in their daily lives. Very interesting question. So people often ask me about trauma and they say, is trauma this big event that happens in your life that debilitates you from functioning properly in the present moment? I say it can be a very big event, but it doesn't necessarily have to. It can actually be a series of small events that keep your nervous system from responding to phenomena in a very neutral way. So it puts you in a state of freeze or hypervigilance. In my own journey, there was actually, small traumas as every individual, I suppose, goes through, as well as an actual traumatic accident, which inspired me to look into this more, not only as a clinician, but as a patient who needed to recover from it. So I have a different lens of approaching trauma. In fact, I've depicted that in my upcoming book, The Fire That Makes Us. And the reason I chose that title for the book is when we go through something traumatic, it can feel like a burning fire. You get to this point where you feel like you're not functioning properly. There is so much pain, emotional, sometimes physical, that you don't know how to wrap your head around or come to terms with. But if you learn how to navigate that process properly, that fire can actually forge you into your new self to become a more well rounded version of yourself that not only can tackle that particular trauma, but anything else life may throw at you going forward. So trauma, as negative as it may be, it has a very negative connotation for most of us when we hear that word, right?
Right.
But it doesn't have to define our lives that way. We can actually take the trauma that happens to us, work through it, and exit this dynamic a lot more well put together than we entered. I know it seems very difficult to wrap your head around when you hear this sentence, but I've gone through it. I've helped many individuals go through it. And I am going to go far enough to say sometimes after you do the inner work properly, you can even find wisdom in the trauma you had to go through.
Hey there. If you enjoyed this particular episode and you want to check out more of my episodes, head over to www.marcus-hart.com/podcast and you'll find more exclusive podcasts and other cool things there.